know.
Come on, Sean, get with it.
I should be able to sing it right now, right?
That was like the slow down, isn't it? More like ba-da, ba-da, ba-da.
Yeah.
We are recording right now, right? Everybody's singing our theme song right now. It's kind of cool to have our own theme song, right? I like that. So
totally do.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Bikini. And there's more of us this time again. Yay. So we are back, and this is episode 127. I got it right because I checked. And today we're going to talk about training assessments, hypertrophy, all the things regarding training. And that's what Allyson is here for, right there.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. So before we get started on all of the things, like, comment, subscribe, hit those buttons wherever they are on your devices. And as we get into this, we did have quite a bit of training footage that was submitted. So we are going to talk about progressive overload and all the fun things when it comes to what you should be doing in order to grow that much needed muscle to compete. And that's why we have Allyson on today. So Allyson, go ahead and tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Whew. Well, if you know me, you know I like to talk. So you kind of got to give me like a starting point here, Sean. Where do you want me to start from?
Start from the beginning. When I was in my mother's womb.
Okay.
We're going to be here all night.
I know, right? Well, give us a brief overview of you, like where your expertise comes from, all the things, because there's a lot of people out here who are not familiar with you. So tell us why we have you on the podcast in the first place.
Okay, great. So I have actually been a Fit Body Fusion athlete on and off the team for 10 years. It's 2026, for 10 years. I originally worked with Jamie back in the day in 2017 era. And then I left for a little while, and I was like, maybe I need to have an in-person coach. I was like, no, I just wasn't ready to commit to what I really needed to do to be successful. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. I'm going to go back. And I have followed so many competitors for so long. Shout out to Hannah DeVore. She was the first person I ever followed on the team. That's how I found Jamie. And I used to follow, some of her other clients. And, one of them actually switched from Jamie to this newer coach on the team. I'm like, what's going on over here? Okay, let me just go investigate because I want to join the team again. And I'm watching her experience. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because I tried to do wellness. That was an epic fail. Tried to do wellness. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I want to do. Should I go back to bikini, blah, blah, blah. This competitor was going back and forth as well. So she was bikini, then went to wellness, and she went back to bikini, and she was working with Drew Brannon. So I start, following Drew. I'm like, oh, he has an exercise science degree. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Like, okay, he knows his stuff. Like, okay. So I contact Drew, joined the team officially again in 2023. And been on ever since. So that's kind of like my fit body history. Mm-hmm. And then take it back to, so my, education, I have a degree in psychology and a minor in Spanish and dance. So I danced my whole life. That was like my big thing. I used to skip gym class. I grew up to be an adult jock. I used to hate it. That was not really my thing, but I danced competitively. So I would leave school and go to dance 5 days a week. So that was kind of like my, athleticism growing up. Then got more into like strength training, whatever. But I wanted to be a bilingual social worker. That was like the thing that I wanted to do. Everybody should intern. This is why everyone needs to do an internship. Because then I did an internship and I was like, nope, never mind. And then I was like, what am I going to do? I love to dance, but I don't want to do that for a career because it's short-lived and it's so hard on your body. And it's just like, I want that to be fun, but I love movement.
Quick detour. I went to college for music education, and then I did my student teaching and realized I didn't want to be a teacher. So,
well, there you go. Right. So that's
story.
Valuable information. You need the experience, and I'm like, whatever, I don't know what I'm going to do. I moved to New York City. I'm working out with one of my girlfriends. I'm like doing this little like routine I did from like a body pump class and like a group fitness class that I did before with her. And like, she was wrecked. She goes and tells her trainer about it. Her trainer talks to the manager of the gym, and he was like, what does this person look like?
It's important.
We're looking to hire trainers. We need females because for lots of corporate gyms, it's really hard to retain the, I don't know what it is. I have my different theories, but there weren't a lot of female trainers on the staff. He was like, and I was looking for a job, went in and, met him. And he was like, was myself. And he was like, oh my God, you're going to kill this. I was like, I don't even, what? Like, I just have CPR and 10 years of dance experience. What do you mean be a person? And he was like, you trained your friends. So he bought me my first personal training certification in 2014. That was a wrap. And then I started training at a gym. So ever since then have been all over New York City, California, Portland, Oregon, worked at gyms, was a regional fitness director for an assisted living company, and then was just totally private running my own business for several years. And then working with Drew, all of a sudden there started to be some hints. Like, how would you feel about moving to Arizona? I'm like, twist my arm, Drew. Like, I want to get out of the rain. I was in Portland. I was like, why would I do that? Why would you make me a coach? He was like, just wait. It was like these little, and then I did a certification in October with Greg, with Papa Bear. And then after that, got a phone call after this personal training certification and was offered a job to come out to Arizona and be the director of training for Fit Body Fusion.
And here we are today.
And here we are. I'm in my apartment in Scottsdale.
I know, right? Well, it was funny because we did a similar podcast to this back in April, where Drew came on, took Jordan's place, and did one of these assessment videos. And it's been one of our most viewed podcasts that we've put out there because I think people just have this kind of thirst for knowledge when it comes to training. One of the things we've always talked about until the last, 5 years or so, there hasn't been a lot of talk about training and bodybuilding, like for women specifically, when we're talking about bikini divisions, things like that. I mean, there is for open male bodybuilders. We all know that, bigger, better, you know what I mean? But right. when we're talking about getting really like we always talk about working with the scalpel, not the sledgehammer, there are very different approaches to that, which we've never really had until the last 5 years or so. So we've gotten really, really, really detail oriented. So the more that we do this, I think the more people really want to see and want to understand and want to, be able to apply and things like that too. So one of the things that, before we get into the footage, because we did have quite a few ladies submit videos. So we're going to go ahead and pull them up. We're going to go just kind of through them one at a time, give little tips and tricks and stuff like that, show what they're doing. We do have notes from a lot of them too. So I can kind of pull up what they sent me as far as notes and what they're doing. But before we get into that, Jordan mentioned something too, as far as going into what y'all were talking about the athlete summit too. So go ahead and take that over, Jordan.
Yeah. So before we get into that, I do want Allyson to kind of talk about her position at Fit Body Fusion and what that looks like and kind of what her day-to-day looks like. And then, she did create the presentation that we did at the Fit Body Fusion Summit, or was a piece of it. And a big thing that we learned at the summit was that not a lot of people truly know what it means to progressive overload and what that actually means. So Allyson, why don't you kind of go into a little bit about what your job is now with Fit Body Fusion and what that assessment looks like? I know a lot of current Fit Body Fusion athletes and even athletes outside of Fit Body Fusion, the word is spreading about this assessment process and what does that look like? And also talking a little bit too about progressive overload and we lost you.
Okay, so anyone that knows me knows that I hate shorts. I never wear shorts. I'm either leggings or skirts. There's no in between. But it's almost 2026. I decided to expand my boundaries and horizons. When I saw these on Prozis website, I just had to try them because I just love this. This is a deep V in the back. I've seen shorts and leggings with the V in the front, but not in the back. So I am going to put these on and try them today when I go do my glute workout. And yeah, I'll update you from there. See if we are a conversion to shorts lover. We'll see. All right, so these are super cute. I'll be honest, I'm usually a high-rise person when it comes to these waistlines. So this is a little bit of getting used to having it below my belly button, but they stay in place my entire workout. And then the reason why I don't like shorts is because they ride up in my crotch. These ones did not at all. So yeah, definitely love these. Will I completely switch over to shorts? Nah, I'm definitely a leggings girl for life, but these will make it into the rotation.
So basically, I want you to kind of go into, Allyson, like, what does your day-to-day look like? And we know that a lot of our current Fit Body Fusion athletes, and even athletes outside of Fit Body Fusion, they keep hearing about the assessment process and what is the assessment and what are you looking for? And also what we learned at the Fit Body Fusion Summit with your presentation talking about progressive overload was that most athletes really truly do not know what that means and what that term progressive overload means. So first, can you kind of share with us a little bit about what your day-to-day is and what your job is with Fit Body Fusion now? And then going into a little bit about how you're educating athletes about progressive overload and like, what does that look like and how do we kind of manage that?
Sure, absolutely. So again, my title, Director of Training, Programming, and Education, right? So I am a trainer, a master trainer. So I'm not a coach on the team. So my position is very different than, a coach's position. I am primarily here for the training. So I am heading this is all new stuff, which like Drew clearly created and has, blown it up to what it is now, the training department. So it's a completely different sector. It's its own thing, right? So it's an additional resource to what the athletes already have here with their coaches. So it's like bringing in another set of expertise, critical thinking, eyes to maximize and optimize everyone's training program. With that being said, we have the assessment process. So the full comprehensive assessment process is like what everyone's hearing about and asking about. So what that is, it's a 2-day process, right? What it includes on day 1, we take you through a 9-step movement screening process. So it's like 9 movement tests, right? And technically it's pass, fail. If you're Drew, you say fail. If you're me, you say room for improvement. We deliver things differently.
No, when I put my videos out of my assessment, she was like, fail. I'm like, okay.
And I'm like, we just got to look at it as an area of growth, right? It's just different, right? We're just different people. So we look through all those things. We're testing things: mobility, stability, core control, core strength, motor control, all of these things that are super important, not only for then creating the most optimal training program designed for these things, but posing. Like, so much of the information that we figure out from this stuff are applied to both, especially with core control, especially thoracic mobility. It's not just even about the training program. So day 1, we look at all those things. I create for everybody what's known as our prep and prime. And that's going to be these different exercises that you do before either your upper or your lower body training days that are designed to help, I like to say, create the best state of readiness to go in and train. So it's going to take the data. It's going to make sure we're doing the right exercises to help stabilize you, to help mobilize you, and all those things to then go into your training session. So I make that same night, and then on day 2, take you through the prep and prime, and then we train. So we train the most common, we're getting, actually I have my first figure assessment, which was really cool today. And I'm making her program, Masters Figure Competitor. Shout out Dana. She's a gem. So I actually worked with Dana today, but in bikini, there's a lot of similar things that we are working towards in terms of creating this shape, but every capital BODY needs something different to help them optimize that, right? But a lot of those things are going to be hinge variations of some sort. Thrust, kickback. We're going to look at your vertical pull, especially your vertical push. So that's pulling this way and pushing this way, right? And then I look at these different movement patterns to then decide what's going to be best for exercise selection for this individual. From there, I build the new program or collaborate with this person's coach. We come up with the best program for them. They view it, they okay it. It's live. And then I am in a group chat with the coach and the athlete, and we have 2 weeks of unlimited training footage review. And Jordan can speak on that because she's in quite a bit of those chats right now. And they stay popping, which is great. So sending your footage, and then I am giving you feedback based on what you're sending through.
Yeah, and just to be very clear, like this is all custom to the athlete, and that's why this is so special and so detail oriented. I was just on the phone with an assessment this morning, and something that I've kind of changed now that Allyson has come on board is that if you are onboarding with me, you are immediately getting an assessment. That's how much I value this and value Allyson. And I just did my assessment 2 weeks ago, and Allyson just built my training block. And what I was sharing with her on the phone is, you take a B stance RDL, for example, and between me, between Amy Delgado, and between, Rihanna Hartley, we all do a B stance RDL completely differently to target what we individually need to target. And that's what Allyson is for. Could I give an athlete a B stance RDL and give a very generic response through training footage and get somewhere? Absolutely. But the bottom line is the athletes that are coming out for the training assessment and getting these custom looks are the ones that are growing hand over fist right now. So that's where kind of Allyson comes in. So now, Allyson, to kind of now broach on the topic of progressive overload, how could we best describe progressive overload to our athletes? And how do we apply progressive overload, and how do you educate somebody on that on day 2?
So I think that there is an association with progressive overload and adding load.
Yes.
As much as you can, as often as you can. And that is how we're going to grow, right? I will give the example of myself. When I first started training Drew was my coach, and we first started working together, and I did my assessment, right? Sending him training footage. I'm doing my working sets of hip thrusts in the 400s. Okay. Your girl is class A 125 on stage. I am dense. Okay. Your girl's strong. And he said to me, we don't need to know how strong you are. We need you to grow your glutes. Right. So I'm like, but I got to keep progressive overload. How am I going to grow if I don't add weight? And he was like, there's no way you can lift that much. And things like your erectors, your adductors, your obliques. And I already have a very short torso and thick obliques from my powerlifting era. I don't need those to chime in. We need to create shape, right? So how do we progress without necessarily continuously, hammering away at adding as much load as possible? And this is something that I have been saying in all these assessments. More is not necessarily more or better when it comes to adding weight, right? So you look at your training block. Let's give a PO. So let's look at hip thrust, because we were just talking about that, right? So you're going to have, and Drew has talked about this, and I was on the podcast too, but Drew talked a lot about it. So we take, your main movement of a glute bias day. We're going to look at hip thrust. We have your warm-up sets, right? That's probably going to be about 2 sets. We have your feeder set that kind of prepares us, so takes us away from warm-up town to take us to working set town, right? You do your feeder set. That's usually going to be about 3 to 6 reps. Your warm-up sets are going to be anywhere from 10 to 15. And then you have your working sets, right? And depending on the person, that could be, like we talked about at the summit, that could be a 6x6. That could be a 3x12. It all depends on the individual. This is something I would figure out through the assessment, what's going to be best for them in terms of load and volume, whatever. And then from there, we have a back off set if needed. We take the back off set. If at the top set, we didn't quite hit the rep range that we were, going to hit, or we were meaning to hit with set weight, then we would then back off, reduce the weight, and do about 12 to 15 reps. Now we're looking at, this is why we need to track our weights when we train, right? So I know for me personally, I need to go on D&D if I'm really going to use my phone, because it's going to be blowing up and I'm going to be getting all these tags, and then I'm going to get distracted and I'm not going to be fully there. This is why we encourage people to use a logbook. Then you can just kind of go old school, tune it out, and track your weights. And then you want to be progressing, but not necessarily. We want about 4 weeks to go by before we're really thinking about upping weight. The goal is to get to the end range of your rep scheme before you additionally add weight. Is that good?
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is that if your working set target, let's just say arbitrary, is 3x10 to 12, and you're hitting about, let's say on a hip thrust, 100 pounds, in week 1, you're at 10 reps. Week 2, you should try to shoot for 11 reps, but keep the rep weight the same.
Yep.
Week 3, maybe you still hit 11, maybe you're getting to 12, but it's still pretty heavy. That doesn't mean just because you hit the 12, now you still increase the weight, keep the weight the same, and wait till 12 is easier. Then we add in more weight and bring the reps back down.
Correct. And this is where training footage is so important, because if you're sending said sets, reps, and weight, and I'm seeing no control of your lumbar spine, I'm seeing your the lower portion of your spine totally dipped out, I'm seeing your ribs flaring, I'm getting the feedback, I'm feeling this mostly in my quads. I've heard this a lot this week. My hamstrings, my adductors, I'm feeling pain in my lower back. It would be better for you to execute the exercise with the best form possible and appropriate tempo. Jordan, how many times in these group chats, I'm like, I want to see this slow down, baby. You got to slow it down, you know, because that's truly how you grow. If you just go in there to move the weight, just to move it, and then want to add more, that is not ideal for growth. So those are things to be taken into account as well.
Yeah, I think some people just like put things on their logbook, like they just want to hit that PR or hit that star, but they're truly not thinking about the isolation of that muscle group. It doesn't mean anything if you're just writing that number down in your logbook and you're supposed to be feeling a glute, but you're feeling low back and quad. You're not truly progressive overloading the intended muscle.
I'm going to tell you something.
We see this a lot for upper body too, though.
Of course.
We see this for upper body too, though, because like that's where a lot of people can't go up huge amounts of weight on upper body. Lower body, you can continue to progressively add weight. Upper body, you can't.
Absolutely.
Like I see all the time with shoulders. Like, well, I'm doing 30-pound dumbbell presses. Why aren't my shoulders growing? Because you're using your traps. You're not using your shoulders. You know, so it's like you start recruiting from other places versus isolating the muscle that you're supposed to be. And like you said, the time and retention makes a big difference. Adding little things like bands and stuff like that can make a difference versus bumping the weight up, you know, things of that nature.
Sure. The band, especially the hip thrust, is going to add a level of stability if you're still working your hip instability stuff. And yeah, I mean, like it used to be, I loved getting the feedback. I post a lift on my stories like, oh my God, you're hip thrusting 475. Now is when people are like, oh, that was so slow.
Yeah.
People feel like, is your camera in slow motion? I'm like, no, girl, that is real life. But I can't tell you, like, this is why if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see whenever I do my Tuesday check-ins, I always post them because I am an active competitor. I'm a week and a half into prep for the season. And I think it's important to show, you know, I'm doing this stuff too. Mm-hmm. I love posting a good before and after, because when I used to train like that, I looked so different than I look now. And I have grown so much when I stopped lifting like that. So I'm really trying to be like a physical example.
I saw some guy do a reel about that, talking about it. She's a real gym baddie if she's doing her reps slow and controlled, then she knows what she's doing, versus somebody who's just throwing weight around. It was funny how he did it, but he's like, that's a real gym baddie. That's a girl that actually knows what she's doing when she's going down 2, 3, up 2, 3. Versus,
you know what's so funny is I was at a gym, like it wasn't my home gym. I was on the road once, and somebody came up to me and he's like, you're a competitor. And I was like deep in off season, like not lean, nothing of that nature. I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? And he was like, I could tell by the way that you train. And it's just, it looks a certain way. And it's funny because like you're on that consult with athletes and it's almost like a badge of honor. Like I could do 3 plates on each side for hip thrust. And I laugh and I'm like, well, that's great. But I'm sure when I get eyes on it, it's not going to be good. And they're like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, when I'm actually going to look at it, it's probably not actually targeting your glutes. And, you know, you're complaining about no glute growth, but also having 3 plates on each side. You know, so, and it's just, you know, we can't expect people to know what they don't know. And that's why there needs to be so much more education about training. And, you know, Drew figured this out a couple years ago when we started this assessment process, that all bikini girls have kind of the same stuff going on. And now we have that data and we're able to super apply it to all of our athletes on Fit Body Fusion and kind of, you know, catch these little things ahead of time. And that's why our athletes are progressing so well. So now that's Allyson's crown to wear and, you know, fully take over, and she's doing an amazing job at it. But yeah.
And just to speak on that, we're also seeing these things with the fit model girlies that are coming in.
Oh yeah.
We've got we've got a little podcast, couple ideas cooking up for that one. We're seeing some of those similar, you know, dysfunctions going on with them as well. So
Well, I think also there's a big opportunity for growth for a fit model, meaning like a lot of the girls coming into that division are newbie training, like they haven't been training for years. So once you do flip that switch and get them training correctly, it's like all of a sudden their bodies just explode. So there's a big potential there versus somebody who's already mature with their muscle growth and all of that.
God, I would even say, like, with the fit model girls, they're probably going to have more mobility issues.
Yes.
I mean, that front pose, you got to twist so freaking much. Like, and if you're not posing both sides, you're definitely going to create an imbalance on that
Well,
non-use side.
think about it, it's so new, and we're already seeing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's cool, like making the fit model girlies programs. I'm like, oh, they get to train legs. I'm like, they get to train.
I can go back to my early bikini days because that front pose was my front pose. That's where all of my mobility issues stem from. It's from that front pose freaking 10, 15 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's just coming right back a decade later,
I was posing one of my fit model girls yesterday and I hit the post. I'm like, damn, this sucks. I feel so bad for you.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I did not miss it. 2015 bikini, Sean. I was there, girl. Okay. In that stallion pose. Oh my goodness. But I was like messing around and doing it. I was like, you guys got me acting up. This is great. It's like it all came back, but I'm good.
I love the pose. I think it's actually one of the more balanced poses out there for female divisions. Oh, we lost her again. she just decided to cut out. Bye.
Okay, if there's anything about Allyson, here she's back. I'll say this to her. She's a fantastic trainer, but tech is not her strong suit.
It's like I never left.
But yeah, what I was saying is that the fit model front pose is actually one of the most balanced poses for women in general. But it is incredibly difficult to do to pop the right angles.
100%. Something else I wanted to say that popped into my head about fit model. We have a lot of people start doing it for the first time, or some bikini folks like going back to fit model. And a lot of, some of the feedback that I've gotten is there's a certain level of commitment these folks don't want to engage in for bikini. That correlates 100% to y'all got to train hard then, right? If that's one of the bigger reasons why. So y'all better come see me.
I'll just say I'm on week 2 of Allyson's program that she just did, and I have been wrecked. Recovery, like in the best way. Obviously I wasn't training very hard and I was doing the same workout over and over again, like through recovery and whatnot. So after my assessment, Allyson wrote this badass program for me, and I text her after like the day 3 and I'm like, girl, I'm hurting right now. She's like, good.
Well, I think that's kind of important too, because it's not like you haven't been doing this, Jordan. So it's like, every 6 months to a year, you're going to have different things you're going to need to look at and see if you have the same dysfunction still, or if you need to adjust things as well. So, in your experience, Allyson, how often do people come back and like do a reassessment, that kind of thing?
Great question.
I think a lot of people ask this at the summit too. Like people who like, I've done an assessment. When do I come back for a reassessment? So one, if you came for your initial assessment and your prep and prime was pretty lengthy, right? If you kind of came off of maybe you had been training for a while, we had an injury, something is going on, or you executed that prep and prime, and then because you did it, you've seen a ton of success and growth, and it's like, okay, I don't really think I need to be doing all of this anymore, then you would come back for a reassessment. So it's either if things are working really, really well, or inversely, if it's not it. That's what I would suggest. Like in Jordan's case, she took some time off. She's getting ready to start the season. She said, I want to see how things are looking heading into this next season, and then clearly, I'm not Jordan's coach. I think she's got the best coach in the game, but it's just another set of critical thinking. And it's another set of, my favorite part about our assessment was when we were doing the B stance and I had you do just 2 things a little bit differently. She was like, oh my God. And she fist bumped me and she was like, that was all tie-in, and those aha moments. So if there are certain movements you've had in programs before, maybe, or that you see a lot of people doing them, they don't quite hit for you though. I'd say come back in or come in.
Yeah, and like as a coach, I would say like too, like I would tell my athletes to come like at the start of every improvement season, like reverse, come out, get that feedback from that judging panel, come see Allyson, let's get another reassessment done and apply the feedback. And the thing is, like on those reassessments, you don't necessarily have to come out for the 2 days. Sometimes it's just, coming out for, 1 90-minute session, you come see me, we do a little posing session, then Allyson comes through on the back end, goes through the feedback, so it really just depends. But, for me, like I've always gotten an assessment done, with Javi and Allyson at the start of every improvement season.
Yeah. And I was going to say that too, because I think, the last time I got my done was the beginning of my improvement season last year. So it's almost like you want to kind of ride or die with that until you go through a competition season again. You know what I mean? And then once you're through that again, like you said, you get the feedback, all that kind of stuff, and then you can reevaluate and see where you need to improve.
And something that's cool too that people don't realize is that Allyson offers also just like one-on-one personal training sessions.
That's something I was just going to segue into. So like,
Perfect.
For instance, you don't necessarily, you just did an assessment with me. I actually had 2 people ask me in this past week. I've done assessments with a lot of people. If I would do personal training with them once a week now, as they've gotten their new program, because they are not super stoked about the idea of sending me tons of footage and setting up their video, and they're local, and they were like, why don't you just come train with me? So now the training department is expanding. That's another reason why I'm here. We are offering more. So yes, Drew initially was doing the full comprehensive assessment, like I had just explained. Now we have the option. You can just come for day 1, get the screenings done, get your prep in prime. I talk to your coach about what's going on, give my exercise selection feedback, and then they handle all the programming. You still get 2 weeks of training footage. You just do half of it. You don't do the training day. That might be if something is going on in your current program that just doesn't, you're not feeling great or whatever, or you're trying to maximize it, then you would just come for day 1. You don't necessarily want a new program. Then we also have personal training sessions. So you can come train with me for 90 minutes. And we also offer this all of this stuff is also offered virtually.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me kind of like posing coaching, same thing. It's like, if I say the same thing to all my clients, it's like for some of them, I'm like, I want to be meeting with you once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever. And we can do it in person. We can do it online. We can do it through video check-ins, however you want to do it, FaceTime, whatever. There's lots of different mediums to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah, totally. And it's cool. We have that now. So we have the training sessions, we have the 2 variations of the assessment, and then we have training footage review subscriptions. So you can pay $25, $50, or $75 a month to send 3, 5, and 10 videos to me a week. And I just look at your footage and give you feedback. So those are all new things, which are really cool.
Yeah, and that's a really great way, like for an athlete, I say to athletes, Florida or here, like go see, Allyson every 8 to 10 weeks if you can, if you're having troubles with progressive overload. If you're not sure, am I truly lifting to failure? Well, what is my failure point? And it's hard for us as females, especially because we're female and, going in, Sean, to your point earlier, shoulder pressing anything over 30 pounds is daunting, right? And we don't really not want to necessarily ask the creepy guy next to us for a spot. So it's, getting in front of Allyson to say, this is my program, push me. Show me today how much I can actually push on my own so that I have the confidence to pick that weight up myself when you're not here standing next to me.
Absolutely.
A lot of feedback over the years. I've gone from training so many clients one-on-one. I wish I trained this way or this hard when you weren't here. I hear that from them all the time. Like my watch always says like my active calories in this session were like 200 more than I'm on my own. And like, that is something, training intensity is so important for growth, understanding what that concept even means. And if that is confusing, I have this joke. I always say no cute faces club. Like if you look cute during your working set, I'm sorry. You are not working hard enough. There's other.
I have this vein that pops out.
I want to see the vein.
Like, you're not working hard enough.
I want you crying on the gluteator, So it's like, if that is not the case, then, we got to talk and we really need to, I also say, take that to the lab, and figure out what that even means. That's a good point, Jordan.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. I get that even from my clients when they send in training footage with their weekly check-ins, like whenever I record for you, I work harder. Well, no shit. That's why I have you doing it in the first place. You know what I mean?
That's a mindset. You
is,
know,
100%.
like, and I talk about that all the
100%.
time. Like, training intensity to me more than physical is your mindset. And I think about that very often. What would I do right now if Jamie was standing right here? What would I do if Drew was standing right here? I would probably get 3 more out. I would probably push a little bit more. I'd probably add more weight, right? So it's whatever you have to tell yourself mentally to kind of trick yourself into that, you know, intensity mode. But it's so much more mental on the pushing and the intensity side of things.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So let's segue into reviewing some training footage. So I'm literally just going to pop through each video that I had sent in, so we can do like a couple little seconds of feedback, or you can say like they could do this better, or maybe she's trying to target this, or whatever it may be. I'm going to turn the volume off though, because we don't need to be hearing all the weights clanging. And we'll start it here.
We thank you for that.
Yes. Okay, so we'll just start it from right here. And most of the girls did send in like notes about what it is that they're trying to do. I believe this one, I'm not sure if this one did or not. So if you have any questions, let me know. I can try to pull up their submission, like their text that they sent to me. So.
So when we get videos, we do ask, what is the exercise that you are doing? What are you feeling? And context is everything. So I would need to know what is there's kind of a lot going on here. What type? Clearly this is a form of a squat, right? What is this in her program? What is the title?
I'm looking at it now, seeing what she put as far as notes are concerned. She said, this is Kristen, I messaged you earlier. I sent 2 different angles of the RDL on the Smith machine, which is not this. So she didn't say anything about this one, this particular exercise.
So let's replay it, and then I have a couple questions for Allyson to kind of help here. Okay. So let's say, Allyson, that she wanted this to be glute focused only.
Okay.
What feedback would you have here?
So I'm going to work from the ground up. So what we want to do, and I think that this was a little bit more popular, and I've seen this change a lot, which is good. There was a heavy emphasis on sumo everything for a long time. If we want glute emphasis, I'm telling y'all right now, don't turn out.
Get out of sumo. Yep.
We want to stay out. So if feet are out, we want to be feet are parallel, right? So that's if we wanted to get more glute out of this, I'm going to start by saying that. Her shoes are pretty flat, so I'm not going to freak out about those. But if they weren't, I would say I need to see the feet, because what your feet are doing are also super important. I honestly would actually tell her to please. I'm a shoe psychopath and a foot psychopath. So I would ask her to take her shoes off so I can make sure, if we're trying to get glute, I need to make sure that her feet are working. You know, your feet have 30 something intrinsic foot muscles. We want to make sure that we got 3 points of contact and that she's shifting into the proper portion of her foot, which is going to be the midfoot, right? So I want to see the feet. I want to see them parallel. I do not want them turned out. Now I'm going to watch this again. So we're getting out of sumo. Now she's initiating this movement with knee flexion. What does that mean? She's level changing by bending her knees. Let's watch it. And I'm not seeing much hip hinge. So when we are trying to do any sort of glute focused squat, you want to initiate the movement with a hip hinge. It's much more of a hinge than a squat, right?
You want upper body goes like this.
Correct. So you want to think about if somebody was running up to her, they would push her this way and her hips would go first, and then the hips are leading, and then that's why ultimately the upper body comes forward. It's not because we see this a lot too, people they tend to chest lead. We are leading with the hips, so the hips push back. Then when you get to your true end range, right, of your hip hinge, we will have slight knee flexion. Now depending on the athlete, this then will probably look more like a quarter of a squat. She's going almost to parallel, because what we were trying to do is keep as much quad out of the squat as possible, because it is a glute focus. Mm-hmm. So how deep we go into flexion is going to determine how much quad is invited to the party.
Yes.
So would it be fair to say when we're watching this video that when she corrects the feet and whatnot, so the thing that I see is the knee shifting over the toes. So when she really starts to lead with the glutes, typically the knee should stay over the ankle when she's looking now at the proper way to do it, and more of leading with the glutes going toward the back wall, right?
When I take a screenshot of her sending me this from the side, when she gets all the way into her end range of her hinge, knees are slightly bent and she's at the bottom of this movement, I want to take a screenshot and I want to see knee stacked over ankle.
Perfect.
You don't want knees going over ankle or
Forward.
definitely not over toes, because then again, the quad becomes the main character when it should be the absolute minor character energy of the exercise.
Very good.
With this particular exercise too, would you rather see her use like a V-bar versus the strap around her waist, or does that matter to you?
I would not have somebody doing a glute focused squat with this attachment to the belt squat. This is for squatting.
Yes.
This used to be in my squat day as a power lifter. And that's when I was trying to build my quads. Like, oh, that's silly. But it really, either she should have like a V-bar. She could even use like a straight bar if that feels better. If we're doing these on the belt squat, I use a V-bar.
I personally think the V-bar actually helps with the hinge part of it too. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And again, we don't know if this athlete is trying to do quad or do glute focus only. I was just saying, if it is glute focused, how do we fix it? Because most of us are glute focused. So
yeah, and again, like my first assessment with Drew, he had me doing a lot of quad focused stuff, like adding bias to my quads, but now not. But so it could be that aspect of it too.
Absolutely.
She could be doing this. We're just saying what most people would need to do. All right, I'm gonna pull up another video here. Give me just a second. Let's do this one next.
Is this an FBF girly?
I believe so. I think that there's only like one person that submitted that was not with FitBody. So here's another one.
Do we have notes?
I'm looking to see if I have notes on her or not. So give me just a second.
It's like small because I'm like, sorry.
Oh yeah, because you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. I am looking to see what I got here. I don't know if I have notes on her or not.
I mean, obviously it's a big Bulgarian.
Yeah, she just says Bulgarian split squat with glute focus. That's what she
Perfect.
said.
Hey, that's okay. So if we take a screenshot at the bottom of hers, let's work up. Again, I want to be able to see the feet. I'm on my phone, so I can't really get crazy because it's small. But if we were to take a screenshot, yep, from the bottom. So with a glute focus Bulgarian, same thing we were just talking about. We want to keep the knee stacked over the ankle. So I'm seeing that's pretty, she's maintaining that pretty well here.
She's doing pretty good. She's got a slight knee shift, very slight. Forward.
It's very slight. And I would call that out. I would take a screenshot, draw a picture or something like that and say it's very slight. So with there's a hip shift, a hinge that we want to kind of initiate here when we're doing a glute focused Bulgarian. For most folks, that's going to get the most glute out of it, right? Because we're loading it up to then pull through and send it back up. One thing I am seeing, and I see this a lot when people are doing Bulgarians, it looks like as she's coming down, there's a weight shift into that trail leg. What we want to do weight displacement wise is keep it in that working leg as much as possible, right? So you see as she comes down, she maintains good positioning out one, but then she shifts back into that back leg. It's almost like when people are doing regular split squats, and I've seen this a lot when people just start training, they come all the way up and they like hyperextend at the top of the lunge, and then they go back down and it's like fully straight and hyper. We want to try to keep time under tension, as much tension on that working glute here as possible. With that being said, we don't want to shift the weight back too much. It's important to keep time under tension. TUT is queen when it comes for growth, right? So if we shift back too much, we're losing tension. I like the upper body here. I think that when you do more of like, we have like the glute focus static lunge and doing glute focus Bulgarian, ultimately if you're in a good hinge, the upper body is going to be slightly, to the floor. If she was really upright, she probably wouldn't be able to get that hinge. So upper body looks like in a good place to me. Also, folks, don't trip about using some assistance. Scoot that incline over and put your hand on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not, when we're doing certain movements, I've been doing this a lot with the B stands, and it's almost kind of like, but am I cheating because I can't? I'm like, no, don't you want to load that up? Like in the spirit of growth, go ahead and use a little extra stability. Right. Like if we are doing some PT rehab or something like that, where we're focusing on, making sure you can do something on one leg for whatever reason. When we are talking about hypertrophy, use some assistance, So if I would scoot that bench over and put your hand on it, girl.
Now, Allyson, I have a question. So I like the reverse escalator going down. Do you know what I mean by that? Like going back with how do you feel about it reversing this way when she stands up versus standing straight up?
Let me watch it.
Because she's going on an
she's
angle.
kind of moving like here.
So I think, right. So like with what I would suggest, like with the upper body, is keeping it that like same way at the bottom the entire time. Is that what you're saying, Jordan?
Just the movement, how when she comes up, she's still at an incline. I tell people to drive through the heel from here and then coming straight up, go straight up from the top. Let the glutes guide you up, sit back as you come down, then come straight up to the ceiling as you pop up.
So you
don't have as much knee flexion, right? Because then you're not pushing as much through the knee to stand up.
I think that doing it this way too because she's shifting so much.
Yeah.
So
good point.
I agree.
Cool.
That was a good one.
That was a good.
Yeah, Bulgarians, that's like one of those things too where like you could do these oh god, these ones are hard too. You could do these a few different ways depending on what your goals are. So we call this one a half kneeling.
These are personally these are my nemesis. I hate them.
Why?
She goes, I can feel good engagement on my other side, but this side I don't feel it.
All right, so let's work our way up. I don't hate the shoes. I can't see what they are.
I think they're Vibram. I think they're 5-finger.
Is she wearing toesies? I can't.
I'm pretty sure.
Are those Vans? Oh, go off. Love it. Good job, Queen. Good.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so let's work our way up. Sean, can you pause it when she's at the end range?
At the top or the bottom?
Bottom.
Yeah. Bottom. Okay.
Especially like the first couple of reps.
I can go back. Let me go back.
Sorry. This one I could work with, but I think it was a little more apparent. Oh yeah, baby. Okay.
Ooh, I missed it, but right there.
All right. So here we go. You send these over to me and your coach. I take a screenshot. This is a common thing we talk about. Like I said, we say a lot of similar things. If we look at the angle here, where is her ankle? Where is her knee in relation to her ankle, vice versa? It is not stacked. The knee is not stacked over the ankle, right? So as she hip hinges, her knee tracks back with her hips. It is super important to keep that stacked the entire time to get this optimal engagement that you're looking for. We get more length that way. A lot of times, folks, when this is the case, I'll hear I'm getting a lot of hammy, not really a lot of glute, right? Or I'm getting low back. I find these sometimes difficult just because like anatomically, I don't know, like I haven't found the right bench and I'm, vertically challenged. I'm not, I've stood on a plate.
I'm not vertically challenged. I have the exact opposite problem.
Right. So I know sometimes these can be tough to hit. So yeah, I would say like try standing on a plate or something like that. And just like playing with different heights, try I don't know, try all kinds of things, but
I think a lot of girls have that hip shift too. So it's like one side, it works really, like she said, she doesn't feel it on this side, So I think one side you probably feel it a little bit better than the other one because you're going to be off on your hips,
Sure. I would also be very curious to see how she would feel if she was cued to keep, if I stood there, held her knee over her ankle and said, now go. I would be curious to see how that would feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it could
Something
be
else too that Allyson reminded me of in my assessment, and I forgot, and at Push we have 1,000 kettlebells for this reason, is for these single leg movements, kettlebells work so well here compared to dumbbells. Just like the feel of like the top grip and the weight being at the bottom. It's just such a more, I just want to say, like, natural movement pattern. So maybe if your gym has kettlebells, try that too on these unilateral, contralateral movements.
A lot of the assessments that I have done in the past couple of weeks when I put in the program, we're doing kettlebell contralateral because that's how I do them. And when I show them, I don't know if I just like it. I agree with you. I also feel like sometimes, especially in a B stance, when we want to get like just like a little bit maybe of an upper body rotation, it just works better with the kettlebell. So thanks for bringing that up because kettlebells are the bomb.
Thanks for reminding me.
We're not swinging them and snatching them and doing crazy things
No.
to load up with.
Oh, a front squat. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Well, I'm assuming it's a front squat.
This might be one of them that's, I'm looking to see if I can find her notes, but I don't see them right now.
So we definitely got heels elevated here, Allyson.
Here it is.
What are the notes for this one? I believe this is.
He said, these are my front squats from my quad focused leg day.
This is my client, Amelia.
It is your client. Yes.
Yeah.
Amelia, you chose violence.
Daddy squad in the house. This is girl.
I mean,
she is a natural women's physique competitor.
Pretty damn good. She's been taught well.
Mm-hmm.
So cues I'm going to use for a front squat. Stay in your elevator. You are riding in an elevator, right? So we're trying to stay upright as possible. We want to really, because in an elevator, you wouldn't forward fold, you're going to fall out of it, right? So we're trying to really stay in the elevator the entire time. Let's watch it again. That's one of my favorite cues when it comes to front squats. Front squats are challenging you primarily for the upper body mobility. So loading up here for like the majority of men that train chest cannot get anywhere. You know, there's no way. Zerchers, so holding the bar like this is a really is a better alternative when you're going to front load if you lack the mobility. I mean, these look beautiful.
Yeah, she's
like my clients are the best clients.
So when I would do any sort of front, I mean, these just look right. If I was doing any sort of, so I would take a screenshot in the bottom. She's hitting depth. Now, let's talk about depth, right? So I think a lot of people, especially when they show me their squat, when I'm assessing your squat, even if you don't have squats in your program, I can learn a lot about the way that your body moves with how you squat. So if Amelia didn't quite own that range of motion to get that much depth, what we might see at the bottom of the squat, we call it a butt wink. You guys heard that before. And basically you don't have neurological control of your lumbar spine, the lowermost portion of your spine. If we don't have control of that, it's going to be hard to stabilize for most lower body exercises, right? So what I'm seeing here is it's a straight line. There's no movement. There's no wink going on in the bottom of her squat. So she's clear to squat that low. But again, I've said this before. I'm not sure if I said it on this episode already. More is not necessarily more. You might need to stop at parallel. Depth is going to be like when we talk about hitting depth in powerlifting, it's like your hip crease, your knee crease is higher than your hip crease, right? It looks like this. To grow, and that's like, in order to get a white light, a passing squat, it has to look like this. This is a red light because that's parallel. In terms of growth, it's better to stop a little bit sooner, maybe not necessarily get the craziest depth, especially if you don't own that range of motion in the bottom of the squat, if you're like faking it. Because often what we'll see is the forward fold as well when we don't have control of the bottom of the squat. But this looks pretty controlled to me.
I was gonna say something I want to point out is how slow she's moving. She is moving. It's about 3 seconds on the way down. Yep. And then she's doing a brief pause, 3 seconds on the way up. And look at her face as the reps go on. She's truly working into that failure spot.
So my athletes will send videos to me. At this point, she's been with me for over a year. She actually works with Joanna and Hormone Logics. She's been with me for over like a year and a half now. And it will say, is this slow enough? because I have said, slow down, slow down, slow down so many times. And, you know, I was a dancer for so many years. When I'm training, I live life in an 8 count and 1 and 2. That's just how I live. So I will say to people, go down on a 3 count and come up on a 3 count, right? So it's like creating a rhythm of appropriate tempo.
Absolutely.
So here's our next one. Look and see if I can find her notes again.
Is this is the same bench? The single leg bench RDL girl, is it not?
Yeah, she didn't make any notes on this one. Yeah,
And
she didn't make any notes on this one.
Pattern. So we got the same kind of thing going on here, y'all. Are her feet? I can't tell because they're on my phone. Are her feet on a elevator?
Yeah, she's on a Smith machine with the safeties that would stop her, so she's elevating herself so she doesn't hit safeties.
But her feet are flat. She's not like.
She's flat. She's flat.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, again, with the same, let's work our way up here. We have that the knee tracking back with the ankle, not super ideal for glute engagement, right? For biasing glutes here. Even if we want, you know, we're trying to get like the ham situation still. It's not it, team. We got to stay stacked. Okay. A big thing I'm seeing, especially because she's using the Smith, so it's almost like it's leverage. She's really shifting the weight of her. She's shifting back. When we hit hinge, we want to think about keeping the weight in the mid foot, right? So when I think this used to kind of be a trend. Like, I don't know if even you guys had this in your program before, where people used to put their toes up like on 10s.
Yes.
So like,
I did that back in 2021, 2022.
You know, so it's like, no. We want to shift forward into, I described it as like, it's like you're about to fall forward and you catch yourself in the middle portion of your foot, right? I personally don't hinge on the Smith. You know, you don't either?
No.
So I think it's difficult because you have to work around it.
Yes.
So with dumbbells, right? I think it's a little bit, you know, it's definitely more ideal because you can of the positioning opportunities. With the Smith, you're kind of trapped.
Yep.
You know,
It doesn't move with you; you move with it.
Exactly.
I think people kind of use it as a crutch. You know what I mean? As a to help them to push back further, but in reality, it's actually hurting their form overall.
Because of what Allison's saying about keeping the weight on the midfoot. And I think too, that's something that a lot of people are not doing correctly. And I'm guilty of it too, and coaching it that way of shifting back on your heels because you're trying to get the hinge back, but the weight of the foot should still be toward the midfoot.
Yep.
And we don't want to forget about the heel. So like we want to actively drive the heel into the floor. We just don't want to shift the weight. It's interesting to see like the different ages of people that I've done assessments with, or it's like, who goes really into the heel? I'm like, I know you've been doing that for a while because like, that's like what we that was it then, you know, but like these things change.
Trends.
Better. Exactly. Fads are real. So when this is just kind of like a little piece of feedback, when you're sending something like a kickback, right? Or anything, I want to see both the working side. I guess it is important for me to see all sides, but like primarily, like, does she only send this side?
So this is one of my clients. I can give you notes on this. One of the reasons why I have her send this particular angle is because she has an issue with her core control and keeping her waist tight. But I think she has some other ones too. Hang on a second.
I want to see what that other hip is doing.
I don't know if she sent the other hip. Hang on, let me look at her videos that she sent in.
I probably figured it out from this angle too.
I think she only sent, she only sent the one side. Yeah, that's all she sent for this one.
All right, can you play it again, please?
Yep.
All right. When we do a kickback, I want you to envision you have the tastiest protein smoothie shake right on that low back. And you get to drink that when you're done. Mine would be like peanut butter, chocolate, banana, something, okay? And you get to drink it when you're done. It can't spill. So right now it looks like it would probably spill, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what I would suggest to this person, and I said this earlier to an assessment person, set up your kickback the same way we're telling you to set up your thrusts and set up your hinges. I don't know what changes when it comes into, I think I used to my kickbacks used to just fly. I would just use momentum. That'd be at the end of my workout, I'd be like, well, I did it. You know what I mean? My glutes changed so much when I treated my kickbacks like I treated all of my other exercises.
Same.
Right?
Same. Like when my athletes are hitting a glute kickback the right way, holy moly, the amount of growth they get.
The upper outer one that has been rotating in our program, oh my goodness, it's just been like shelf, and I treat it. Her tempo is pretty good. But like I said, these can get pretty momentum-y. So especially as she's kicking, again, team, it's a kick back, not a kick up. So it's the success of the exercise is not dependent upon how high you can get your leg back. I think there's something almost like, it looks like an arabesque. Like it's like this pretty, like I'm kicking, but it should be dirty. You should not look cute while you're doing them.
She's a dancer, so that makes complete and total sense.
I was going to say it, but
she's a dancer. So yeah.
I would just assess a dancer 15 minutes before I got on this call. And I was like, honey, that was beautiful, but that's not going to grow your glutes.
Right.
A hard time growing her glutes. And it's because of how not jacked up she is, which is really interesting. But like when you're hypermobile and you can really get it back there, we're not keeping tension on the glutes. We're just kicking the leg up. It's not a kick up, it's a kick back. So focus on the back, right? And then again, setting up the rib cage and the pelvis for ideal positioning here, keeping them stacked the whole time. Drew will say, kiss the ribs to the pelvis. I love that, right? Then I like to give the headlights cue. You have a headlight on the front of each hip, and those headlights need to stay to the floor the entire time. When one headlight starts to go like this, that means you're probably kicking too high up. So it's okay to stop a little sooner, especially because what's going to happen with that is that we're keeping tension on the glutes, and that's the point.
Mm-hmm. One of my athletes mentioned that you shared, I think it was at the seminar, the summit, to put a yoga block on the back.
No? I put it in my story last week, and the girls have been popping off with it. So
yeah. would this be an ideal cue for this athlete to put a yoga block on the back?
100%. So like I was saying in the beginning, envision, but like the protein shake. But yes, for tactile feedback.
Or even if you have a yoga ball, like the ball, the rounder, like 9-inch balls, stick that right in your lower back.
I think that so with the block, it will definitely, if you do implement the headlights and like the momentum and the I do think the block will not move. With the ball, I feel like it might fall. That might be kind of hard to keep that balance.
Hey, listen, harder is better, right?
I don't know. I don't even know if I can do that, girl. That sounds like a challenge. But with the yoga block, it's interesting because yes, you don't want it to fall, but you can also see how much it's moving.
True.
Which really gives a lot of, as the trainer, feedback on how stable is this girlie? What's going on with her core control? And then that might contribute to what we need in the prep and prime or for cueing purposes too. So yes, putting a yoga block here would be great. I have seen way worse, back arching than this. This is mild. I think with a couple of these cues, the next couple times she sends us over, she could probably, clean this up quite a bit. But that's what we see a lot of back arching. A lot of the hips want to just go crazy.
Well, I think what you just mentioned was actually a good point too. You said within the next couple of times she sends us over. So this is the important part about, like you said, continuing to send in footage all the time. Because I think the athletes do get lazy as well. Like they think they're doing okay, so they just say, "Oh, I'm good now." You know what I mean? I don't need to have this checked again, and then they fall back into old habits. You know what I mean?
But you don't even have to film and send to your coach. You just film for yourself. And I think that's where athletes go wrong. If they feel like they're not filming, if they're not sending it to someone. And that's what I say to my athletes all the time. You need to take responsibility as the athlete. I have now given you that feedback. Now you need to film yourself and course correct in the middle of the workout to make sure you're applying the feedback. You shouldn't, and I get it. Like, stopping and filming your workouts every single time sucks. It slows you down. But one week you do your lower body training, the next week you do your upper body training, and maybe you flip back and forth, but you got to take responsibility as an athlete to continue to look at that yourself.
Yep. We'll do a few more. I've got a bunch, but we'll do a few more.
Do we get any feedback about this?
Let me see. Let me see what I got. Here she is. B stands RDL for consideration. That's all she said. Yeah.
So
B stands RDL.
Okay. So let's look at this in terms of ground up. I like the knee to ankle positioning here. It seems like she's got, from my perspective, some longer femurs. I think we could get a little bit more flexion so she could get more glute out of this. I also think that if we look at this, her hips stop, especially at a certain range and as she goes back, and her chest keeps going. Yep. What about these? You see that?
I see that a lot where girls just keep going with the upper body and the lower body just gets stuck. Yeah.
More is not always more. Our hypermobile, our dancers, right? It's like, yes, we know you can get that dumbbell all the way to your toes, right? But is that advantageous for glute growth? I don't think so. Everybody's different. I don't love a blanket statement, but I'm telling y'all no. So for her, I would probably focus on stopping at her true end range, getting a tiny, just a little bit more flexion. That doesn't mean that her knee goes over her toes. That means as she's hinging back, she has a little bit of a knee bend just so she can get more out of her actual hinge, as opposed to it being a chest forward movement.
I was clicking through to try to find her notes. I didn't know if you mentioned anything about her foot stance. Did you see something about her foot stance? Do you like her foot stance where she's at? Or do you think she needs to change that?
So I personally like to go a little bit wider with my stance when it comes to my stance, right?
When you say wider, you mean this way, or do you mean which way wider do you mean?
Like in some of our videos, we have the instruction where it goes whoop, whoop, and that's where your feet live, right? I personally live here. So I think it really depends. I need feedback. That's why it's important when you all send us stuff to let us know what you're feeling, what you're not feeling. So I'm going to say on that one, it depends. But generally,
I go a little wider myself too. I do the same thing.
Yeah, there you go. That's why it's important to get an assessment and know what you need.
Yep. That's fine. So we got one or two more. Oh, here's an upper body one. We haven't done any upper body. Let me see. Would you like one or two more?
Any feedback on this one?
She just said 2 videos of face pull. Wanted y'all's thoughts on how to position shoulder blades to avoid trap activation.
So to me, it looks like she's getting a lot of traps doing it this way.
Yep.
Do we have another angle?
I think that might be it, but let me see. Let me just see if we got anything else. Oh, she does have another one. Maybe I can. Problem is that none of these are labeled correctly, so I don't know which one I'm popping up. Oh, there we go. Here's another angle.
Okay, so I like this angle a little bit better because I think sometimes when we give the feedback, we want a neutral spine, especially for lower body stuff. We are all thinking ultimately about the lower portion. Your cervical spine, that's the top of your spine. That's connected. So if we are here, especially when we're trying to target like a posterior delt situation, that puts us in a very suboptimal position to really be able to get into the position to recruit the post delts. So if your cervical spine is not neutral and you are not, in some sort of position where you can stay with a long spine here, you're not going to be able to move your shoulder blades around in an ideal position to get that tissue to recruit. So this angle does look better. That first one was giving a lot of traps, and I think it's just because of her positioning.
I see some trap activation. I see some elevation there.
In this one?
Yeah.
Definitely still trappy, but it's more ideal.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one was better as far as where she's positioned. 100%.
I think, Allyson, do you think she could bring the cable up a little bit higher too? Because she's a tall.
I personally think with face pulls, I like a elevated angle for sure.
Yeah.
I do on the ground. I like doing them seated just because I feel like that's the best position for me for my spine, and then also being able to get the range of motion that I need in my scaps. So I would agree with changing the cable angle as well.
I think it enforces too, even though it's at that higher angle, it enforces you mind and muscle to think about down, trap, pull back.
Whenever you're setting up for an upper body exercise, especially pull, but I think this goes for pushing too. I like to use the cue, pull your back or your lat into your opposite back pocket. That helps remove traps out of it as well. Yeah. Think about pulling it into the opposite back pocket. Okay, think about, I'm doing my face pull. If I'm here and I'm going to pull my lat into my opposite back pocket, oh, okay. There it is. Yeah. There it is, right? That's a great cue to help get traps out of pushing and help get the most lat out of your pulling.
Yeah. I like that. Kim. I'm going to use that.
I mean, and the bottom line is, and this is where, like, as an athlete, like, go look at an anatomy chart. The traps are huge compared to your rear delts. The traps are called the helpers because they are going to take over before your lats, before any of your shoulder girdle, so take a look at the anatomy chart. So a big part of the traps is just learning that neural connection of getting them out of the movement. And sometimes that means you have to pull the weight down to reinforce getting the trap down and understanding what that feels like.
Yeah.
I think
it's extremely frustrating.
I think people don't realize that when they think of traps, they just think like right here. And like that's all it is, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Right. We have the upper, the mid, and the lower, right? They can dominate all of the upper party, So that's a really good point. But that's what I would say for this one.
Cool. Awesome. Well, there's a couple more, but most of them are still the lower body stuff that we've already gone over. So I think that's a good place to we got a good like variety of movements and things like that. You know what I mean? So let me go ahead and stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah, let's get Allyson some dinner because she literally hopped on here after back-to-back assessments. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah. I know that we asked you last week. We were just really excited to have you, and we know you're super busy right now and doing so much. So we really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your feedback.
I am so happy to be here. It's technically back-to-back assessments, but that's okay. I'm so happy to be here. Just like the Fit Body Fusion Lifestyle podcast, you guys helped me survive cardio. For all of it, for my entire year of prep, hopping on the treadmill and watching this podcast, it is truly so cool to me that I'm on it with you. So it's an honor to even be asked. So thank you for having me. And
we love this stuff. The bottom line is our listeners that come on here, they come on here to try to find something that's going to help them be better. You know what I mean? So maybe not all of this will speak to them, but they might get a little nugget that they can apply to their training that just completely changes the game for them. And that's the whole point here. Even I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good nugget I can use. Oh, that's a good nugget I can use. You know what I mean? Myself, absolutely. I learn every time,
Yes, it's a different lens, right? And I'm happy to provide that. So
Allyson, before you run, can you share where our followers can find you if they want to do an assessment or follow you on social media? And also just want to be clear, like this is open to any athletes. This is not just Fit Body Fusion. We have opened up Allyson to every single athlete. So if you're watching and you're not a part of the team, that's fine. You could still use Allyson. So Allyson, how do people reach out to you and find you? And this is something too that we could put in the show notes as well.
Sure. So I'm very active on my social media, especially my Instagram. I love documenting every part of my entire life. So you can find me at allyson.spungin.fitness on Instagram. You can shoot me an email, allyson@fitbodyfusion.com. If you are interested in contacting me right away, go to the link you don't have the ability to just retain that I gave my email address. Go to the link that's in the profile portion of my Instagram account, and that will get you directly to our website where you can fill out a training department inquiry form, and I will get back to you and we will get you out here and it'll be great.
That's also on the Fit Body Fusion website as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I always I'll put your Instagram handle in the description box below so people can click through to that. That's always the easiest thing. Like people are like, oh, you have a website? I'm like, yeah, but just go to my Instagram because everything's there, you know. And as long as you go back there, you're gonna find it, you know.
And I want you all to follow me because it's fun.
I need friends.
Allyson, if there's anything about Allyson, she's either going to share with you a knowledge bomb or a fun bomb. So she's a great follow.
There you go. There you go. Keeps your food fun.
I really like showcasing what I do because, like, again, from a relatability, I'm doing the B stance with the kettlebell in my stories. You know what I mean? I'm showing you what I'm doing with the assessments. If you're interested, like, what's her energy? What's her style? What's it like? You hear me communicating with folks. So I think it's a really cool way to watch and get a little, you know, you're shadowing a little bit in the background of like what we're doing out here. So I think it's a great way to showcase it. So that's why I would encourage. And also, it's fun.
taking the game to the next level. You know what I mean? Just got to keep getting better each time, right? That's what this is all about.
All you can control in this sport is being better than before.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And that's a great place to end it right there. That's fantastic. Okay, guys. So, right? I love it. Everybody knows our theme song. I want to personally thank all the ladies that sent out videos too. It was very last minute. Like I asked on Tuesday and I had them all by today, Thursday. So, you know, thank you guys also for being really prepared with that and putting yourself out there to be vulnerable too, because it's hard to be putting yourself out into social media land to get judged. So we appreciate that. And hopefully this will help you improve that. Again, going back to that's the whole reason we're doing this. So on that note, you guys, thank you all so, so much. And for Behind the Bikini, we are out. Bye, guys.